In 1996, Max and Emma Hahn discovered something that would challenge every assumption about metallurgical development. Embedded in solid limestone, they found a wooden-handled hammer that geological analysis would later reveal was over 400 million years old. But this wasn't some crude prehistoric tool. Chemical analysis of the hammerhead revealed it was made from 96.6% iron with trace amounts of sulfur and chlorine. This metallurgical composition doesn't occur anywhere in nature. Creating such pure iron requires advanced smelting techniques that weren't supposedly developed until the modern industrial age. Yet here was proof that someone had mastered these processes hundreds of millions of years before humans had even evolved. The preservation was equally impossible. The wooden handle had partially fossilized while remaining perfectly attached to the metal head, proving the entire object had been encased in the rock formation for geological ages. When metallurgist Carl Ball conducted extensive analysis in 1983, he discovered that the iron showed no signs of oxidation despite being exposed to air. The metal had a crystalline structure that modern metallurgy couldn't replicate, suggesting manufacturing techniques that exceeded contemporary industrial capabilities. Most disturbing was Ball's discovery that the iron contained elemental ratios that simply don't exist in natural terrestrial materials. The unusual sulfur and chlorine content indicated the metal had been processed using techniques that could control atomic composition with precision that modern science considers theoretically impossible. When Ball attempted to publish these findings, geological journals consistently rejected his research despite acknowledging the quality of his analysis. The pattern of suppression intensified when independent laboratories confirmed Ball's metallurgical analysis and verified that the hammer's composition couldn't be explained by known natural or industrial processes. Academic institutions claimed the hammer was somehow a modern intrusion that had infiltrated ancient rock formations through unknown geological processes, ignoring the obvious impossibility of such explanations. Museums that were offered the London hammer for display declined to acquire it, citing concerns about controversial interpretations. The Smithsonian Institution refused to even examine the artifact despite multiple requests from legitimate researchers. Government geological surveys avoided investigating, claiming that anomalous artifacts fell outside their research mandate. Yet classified documents suggest that similar impossible artifacts have been discovered at other sites and quietly removed from archaeological contexts. Recent attempts to conduct advanced analysis using modern scanning techniques have been blocked by claims that such testing could damage the artifact. However, these testing restrictions appear designed to prevent further confirmation of the hammer's impossible properties, rather than preserve its integrity. The London hammer remains in private collection, representing physical evidence that advanced metallurgy existed millions of years before humans supposedly evolved, challenging fundamental assumptions about technological development. Our second impossible artifact takes us to the Mediterranean, where sponge divers in 1901 made a discovery that would rewrite our understanding of ancient Greek capabilities. Working near the island of Antikythera, they recovered what initially appeared to be simple, corroded bronze fragments from an ancient Roman shipwreck. But as researchers began examining these pieces, they realized they had found something that shouldn't have been possible for another 1,000 years. The Antikythera Mechanism, as it came to be known, is an analog computer of staggering sophistication. Built around 100 BCE, it uses over 30 precisely engineered bronze gears working together to track the movements of the sun, moon, and planets with mathematical precision that wouldn't be achieved again until the invention of modern mechanical clocks over a millennium later. This wasn't some simple astronomical tool. The device could predict eclipses decades in advance, calculate the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games, and track the complex 235-month Metonic cycle used in ancient Greek calendars. The mathematical sophistication required for these calculations represents knowledge that historians insist didn't exist in the 1st century before the Common Era. Dr. Derek de Solla Price's analysis in the 1970s revealed that the mechanism incorporated differential gearing, a technology that historians believed wasn't invented until the 16th century. The gear ratios used mathematical constants and astronomical cycles that required advanced understanding of planetary mechanics and precision engineering that seemed impossible for ancient craftsmen working with primitive tools. Recent CT scans have revealed that the mechanism originally contained far more functions than previously understood. The device appears to have been capable of tracking all known planets and calculating their positions decades in advance, essentially functioning as a complete astronomical computer that could model the entire known solar system with remarkable accuracy. When modern researchers attempted to build replicas using contemporary machine tools, they discovered that achieving the precision of the original required manufacturing tolerances that challenged current engineering capabilities. The ancient craftsmen had somehow achieved mechanical precision that exceeded modern standards using techniques that remain mysterious. The mechanism's complexity suggests it wasn't a unique device, but part of a tradition of astronomical computing that existed in the ancient world. However, no other examples of such sophisticated mechanical computers have been found in archaeological contexts, raising disturbing questions about what happened to this advanced knowledge and whether similar artifacts have been systematically removed or destroyed. Academic institutions have struggled to explain how ancient Greeks could have possessed the mathematical knowledge and mechanical engineering capabilities required to create such a sophisticated device without acknowledging that our understanding of ancient technological capabilities has been fundamentally wrong. The mechanism challenges established timelines of technological development and suggests that advanced scientific knowledge existed in antiquity far beyond what we've been taught. Museums display the Antikythera Mechanism as an example of ancient Greek ingenuity, while carefully downplaying its revolutionary implications. Educational materials focus on cultural significance rather than technical sophistication that contradicts accepted historical timelines. The artifact represents proof that ancient civilizations possessed advanced mechanical and mathematical knowledge that has been systematically underestimated. Moving from the Mediterranean to the mountains of California, our third impossible artifact presents an even more dramatic challenge to accepted timelines. In 1961, rock collectors Wallace Lane, Virginia Maxey, and Jack Kenny were searching for geodes in the Coso Mountains when they made a discovery that defied every principle of geological dating and technological development. What they found appeared to be a spark plug encased in solly that geological analysis dated rock to 500,000 years old, placing it in the Middle Pleistocene epoch, hundreds of thousands of years before humans supposedly developed internal combustion engines. The artifact was discovered in a rock formation that showed absolutely no signs of recent intrusion or artificial placement, yet X-ray analysis revealed perfectly preserved modern spark plug components embedded within. The preservation was so complete that individual parts were clearly visible through radiographic examination, including a metal shaft, ceramic insulator, and threaded components identical to 20th century spark plug design. The X-ray images showed spring mechanisms and electrical components that represented technology that shouldn't have existed in prehistoric times. Yet there they were, embedded in rock that had formed naturally over hundreds of thousands of years. Most extraordinary was the discovery that the spark plug's design matched patents that weren't filed until the 20th century. Yet geological analysis confirmed beyond doubt that the rock formation was hundreds of thousands of years old, creating an impossible paradox that challenged every assumption about technological development timelines. When the collectors attempted to interest museums and universities in their discovery, academic institutions consistently dismissed it as a modern intrusion, despite overwhelming geological evidence proving its ancient origin. Researchers refused to conduct detailed analysis that might confirm the spark plug's impossible age, and the systematic dismissal intensified when independent geologists confirmed that the rock formation showed no evidence of recent disturbance. The evidence was clear and undeniable, Yet it contradicted every accepted theory about human technological development. Scientific journals refused to publish research about the Coso Artifact, claiming that extraordinary claims required extraordinary evidence while simultaneously refusing to examine the evidence that could prove or disprove the artifact's authenticity and age. Government geological surveys avoided investigating the discovery site, citing budget constraints and research priorities that conveniently didn't include anomalous artifacts. The area was subsequently restricted from unauthorized access through environmental protection designations that effectively prevented further investigation. Recent attempts to conduct advanced geological analysis have been blocked by claims that the artifact is in private collection and unavailable for scientific study. However, the original X-rays and photographs continue to document properties that represent physical evidence of internal combustion engine technology, existing hundreds of thousands of years before accepted human history acknowledges such capabilities were possible. The fourth artifact in our investigation takes us to the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, where German archaeologist Wilhelm König made a discovery in 1936 that would challenge everything we thought we knew about ancient electrical knowledge. While excavating at Kujut Rabu near Baghdad, König uncovered a collection of clay jars that appeared unremarkable at first glance. But closer examination revealed these 2,000-year-old artifacts were actually sophisticated electrical batteries. These weren't crude ceremonial objects or simple storage containers. Each jar contained a copper cylinder that enclosed an iron rod, with the entire assembly sealed using asphalt stoppers. The components showed corrosion patterns consistent with electrochemical reactions, proving they had been used to generate electrical current for extended periods. When electrical engineers tested replicas, they confirmed the artifacts could produce up to 1.1 volts when filled with acidic solutions. The voltage was sufficient to power small electrical devices and could be used for electroplating, electrical stimulation, or lighting applications. The batteries incorporated design principles that demonstrated sophisticated understanding of electrochemistry and electrical conduction. The copper and iron components were precisely configured to maximize electrical output while minimizing corrosion damage, showing knowledge that wouldn't be formally understood until centuries later. König documented finding over a dozen battery-like artifacts in the same archaeological context, suggesting electrical technology was common in ancient Mesopotamian civilization. The artifacts were associated with jewelry and metalwork that showed evidence of electroplating techniques requiring electrical current, proving these weren't isolated curiosities, but part of a broader technological tradition. When König attempted to publish his findings about ancient electrical technology, academic institutions dismissed his research as misinterpretation of ceremonial objects. Archaeologists refused to acknowledge that ancient civilizations could have possessed electrical knowledge, despite clear evidence of functional electrical devices. The systematic dismissal continued even when electrical engineers confirmed the artifacts were genuine batteries capable of producing measurable electrical current. Museums displayed the Baghdad Batteries as mysterious artifacts while carefully avoiding discussion of their electrical capabilities. Scientific institutions refused to conduct comprehensive analysis, claiming such research fell outside established archaeological methodologies. The consistent rejection suggested coordinated efforts to suppress evidence of ancient electrical knowledge that contradicted accepted technological timelines. Modern replicas have confirmed the battery's electrical capabilities and demonstrated that ancient Mesopotamians possess practical electrical technology that could have powered various applications, including lighting, communication, and manufacturing processes. The Baghdad Battery represents proof that electrical technology existed 2,000 years before Benjamin Franklin's experiments, fundamentally challenging assumptions about technological development. Our fifth impossible artifact emerged from Massachusetts during the industrial expansion of the 19th century. In 1851, blasting operations at Meeting House Hill in Dorchester uncovered a metallic vessel embedded in solid rock, estimated to be 100,000 years old. The artifact displayed manufacturing sophistication that exceeded 19th century industrial capabilities, yet it had been naturally embedded in geological formations for millennia. The Dorchester Pot was discovered 15 feet below the surface in solid rock, showing no signs of recent disturbance. The vessel was perfectly preserved and demonstrated precision manufacturing, including uniform wall thickness, decorative inlays, and surface treatments requiring advanced metallurgical knowledge. Analysis revealed the pot was made from an unknown metal alloy that couldn't be identified using available analytical techniques. The metal composition included elements and ratios that didn't occur naturally, suggesting manufacturing processes that exceeded contemporary industrial capabilities. Most extraordinary were the decorative patterns covering the vessel's surface. The designs were inlaid with silver and showed artistic sophistication contradicting assumptions about prehistoric artistic capabilities. The patterns included geometric forms and floral motifs, requiring advanced design knowledge and precision craftsmanship. The Boston Society of Natural History examined the artifact and confirmed its geological age, while acknowledging its manufacturing sophistication couldn't be explained by known prehistoric cultures. The Society published initial findings, but later withdrew support for research challenging established archaeological timelines. When newspapers reported the discovery, academic institutions quickly dismissed the pot as a geological anomaly, despite clear evidence of artificial manufacturing. The systematic dismissal intensified when independent metallurgists confirmed the artifact's composition and manufacturing precision exceeded what could be achieved using 19th century industrial techniques. Museums refused to acquire the Dorchester Pot for display, citing concerns about controversial interpretations. The artifact mysteriously disappeared from public view, and its current location remains unknown, despite documented historical reports of its discovery and analysis. Recent attempts to locate the pot for modern analysis have been unsuccessful, with institutions claiming no knowledge of its whereabouts. The Dorchester Pot represents evidence that advanced metallurgy and artistic capabilities existed 100,000 years before accepted human history, challenging fundamental assumptions about prehistoric technological development. Moving to the African continent, our sixth artifact takes us deep into South African mines, where hundreds of metallic spheres have been discovered in Precambrian rock formations nearly 3 billion years old. These objects show evidence of artificial manufacturing and contain internal structures suggesting they were created using advanced technology when Earth was still developing its earliest life forms. The Klerksdorp Spheres are perfectly round or oval objects ranging from 1 to 4 inches in diameter. Many contain 3 parallel grooves around their circumference that appear machined with precision, requiring advanced manufacturing techniques. Geological analysis confirmed the spheres were embedded in natural rock formations during the Precambrian era, approximately 2.8 billion years ago. At this time, Earth's atmosphere contained no oxygen, and only primitive microorganisms existed, making artificial manufacturing impossible according to accepted evolutionary timelines. Most extraordinary is the discovery that many spheres are hollow and contain unknown substances that haven't been identified by chemical analysis, suggesting manufacturing processes using materials and techniques beyond current understanding. The spheres show evidence of precise engineering, including uniform density, perfectly spherical geometry, and internal structures, suggesting they were created for specific technological purposes. The level of precision required exceeds what could be achieved by natural geological processes. When geologists attempted to explain the spheres as natural concretions, chemical analysis revealed their composition and structure were inconsistent with any known geological formation process. Museums display the Klerksdorp Spheres as mysterious geological formations while avoiding discussion of their apparent artificial manufacture. Scientific institutions have avoided comprehensive analysis of the sphere's internal structures, claiming such research falls outside geological research mandates. The consistent avoidance suggests coordinated efforts to prevent confirmation of artificial manufacture. Recent discoveries of similar spheres at other locations worldwide suggest these aren't isolated anomalies, but represent evidence of global technological activity during Earth's earliest periods, when no advanced life forms should have existed. The spheres represent physical evidence that advanced manufacturing technology existed nearly 3 billion years ago, challenging fundamental assumptions about the development of life on Earth. Our seventh impossible artifact brings us to Romania, where workers in 1974 made a discovery that defied every principle of metallurgical history. While excavating along the banks of the Mureș River near Aiud, they unearthed 3 objects buried together in ancient sediments. 2 were identified as mastodon bones, dating to 20,000 years ago, but the third was a metallic wedge that shouldn't have existed for another 18,000 years. The Aiud Wedge was embedded in the same geological layer as the ancient bones, proving it was deposited during the Pleistocene epoch when humans supposedly lacked metallurgical capabilities. The object measured approximately 8 inches long, 5 inches wide, and 3 inches thick, with a complex shape including 2 holes and unusual surface patterns, showing evidence of machine tooling and precision manufacturing. Chemical analysis revealed the wedge was made from aluminum alloy containing copper and other trace elements. Since aluminum requires extensive industrial processing to extract from ore and wasn't isolated until 1825, the artifact's presence in 20,000-year-old geological deposits represented an impossible anachronism that challenged every assumption about technological development. Most extraordinary was the discovery that the aluminum alloy's composition differed from modern aluminum production, suggesting manufacturing techniques using different extraction and refining processes. The alloy showed properties that modern metallurgy couldn't easily replicate, indicating advanced capabilities that exceeded contemporary industrial knowledge. The artifact's shape and tooling marks indicated it was part of a larger mechanical device, possibly serving as a component in machinery requiring precise engineering and advanced manufacturing capabilities. The complexity suggested sophisticated technological systems existed in prehistoric times, contradicting every accepted timeline of human development. When Romanian archaeologists attempted to publish findings about the aluminum wedge, academic institutions dismissed the artifact as modern in nation despite geological contamination evidence proving its ancient context. International archaeological organizations refused to acknowledge its authenticity, and scientific journals rejected research about the discovery. The systematic dismissal continued when independent metallurgists confirmed the artifact's aluminum composition and ancient context. Museums declined to display the wedge, and government archaeological institutions restricted access to the discovery site, preventing further excavation that cover additional Annamite unchronistic artifacts. The Aiud Wedge represents proof that advanced aluminum metallurgy existed 20,000 years before its supposed invention, challenging fundamental assumptions about technological development and suggesting industrial capabilities have existed far longer than accepted history acknowledges. Our eighth impossible artifact emerges from the highlands of Peru, where thousands of carved stones have surfaced since the 1930s, depicting scenes that shatter every assumption about prehistoric human knowledge. These engraved rocks, discovered near the village of Ica, contain imagery so extraordinary and technically precise that they forced researchers to confront uncomfortable truths about ancient capabilities that official archaeology refuses to acknowledge. The carved stones display humans coexisting with creatures that supposedly went extinct millions of years before our species evolved. But these aren't crude cave paintings or primitive scratches. The engravings demonstrate detailed anatomical knowledge of extinct species, surgical procedures that weren't developed until modern medicine, and technological understanding that exceeds accepted prehistoric capabilities by impossible margins. Dr. Javier Cabrera collected over 15,000 of these stones, documenting imagery that included humans performing heart surgery, brain operations, and organ transplants using sophisticated medical instruments. The surgical techniques depicted procedures that weren't developed until the 20th century, yet the carving methods and stone aging suggested genuine antiquity rather than modern fabrication. The astronomical knowledge displayed on many stones was equally impossible. Star charts showing planetary positions cosmic events requiring advanced mathematical calculations, and observational data that would have required sophisticated instruments to obtain. The scientific information demonstrated capabilities that prehistoric peoples supposedly lacked entirely. Chemical analysis of the carving techniques revealed distinctive wear patterns consistent with ancient manufacturing methods. The aging of the carved surfaces suggested the artwork was genuinely old rather than recent forgeries. Yet the content challenged every accepted timeline of human development and scientific knowledge. Most disturbing were stones depicting advanced technology, including flying machines, optical instruments, and mechanical devices, suggesting capabilities that contradicted everything we've been taught about prehistoric limitations. The technical drawings showed understanding of physics and engineering principles that ancient peoples allegedly couldn't have possessed. When archaeologists investigated these artifacts, they dismissed them as modern hoaxes, despite evidence of ancient carving techniques and genuine aging patterns. Academic institutions refused to conduct detailed analysis that might confirm their authenticity and revolutionary implications for understanding human history. The systematic dismissal intensified when geological analysis confirmed many stones were carved using ancient techniques and showed authentic aging patterns that couldn't be easily faked. Museums declined to display the stones, citing concerns about pseudo-archaeological interpretations that might confuse public understanding of prehistoric capabilities. Government archaeological authorities prohibited excavation of additional stone deposits and restricted access to prevent scientific analysis that might confirm the artifact's authenticity and challenge established timelines. The coordinated suppression suggested these discoveries threatened fundamental assumptions about human development that institutions were determined to protect. Moving to the American frontier, our ninth artifact takes us to Idaho, where well drillers in 1889 extracted something from deep underground that challenged every theory about human artistic development. At a depth of 320 feet, buried in geological strata over 2 million years old, they discovered a small clay figurine that demonstrated cultural sophistication, millions of years before humans supposedly evolved the capability for symbolic art. The Nampa Figurine emerged from Pliocene clay deposits that geological analysis confirmed were laid down over 2 million years ago. The artifact was extracted during well drilling operations from undisturbed geological layers, no evidence showing of later intrusion or contamination, yet it displayed remarkable artistic sophistication that contradicted every assumption about prehistoric human abilities. The figurine demonstrated realistic human proportions, detailed facial features, and evidence of advanced ceramic firing techniques. The craftsmanship required artistic training, cultural development, and technological capabilities that exceeded accepted prehistoric human abilities by impossible timeframes. Most extraordinary was the discovery that the figurine's ceramic composition and firing techniques were more sophisticated than pottery from known prehistoric cultures. The artifact showed evidence of controlled firing temperatures and specialized clay preparation that required advanced technological knowledge supposedly unavailable to ancient peoples. The Boston Society of Natural History examined the figurine and confirmed its ancient context, while acknowledging that its artistic sophistication couldn't be explained by accepted theories about human cultural development. The Society initially published findings, but later withdrew support for research challenging evolutionary timelines that might upset established academic consensus. When museums were offered the figurine for display, they declined to acquire it, citing concerns about controversial dating that could confuse public understanding of human evolutionary development. Academic institutions avoided research that might confirm the artifact's implications for understanding prehistoric capabilities. The systematic dismissal continued when analysis confirmed the figurine's two independent geological million-year-old context and authenticated its ancient ceramic techniques. Scientific institutions refused to acknowledge evidence that established challenged evolutionary timelines, regardless of the quality of analysis supporting the artifact's authenticity. Archaeological journals rejected research about the Nampa Figurine, claiming sophisticated art couldn't exist in geological contexts predating human cultural evolution. The consistent rejection suggested coordinated efforts to suppress evidence of ancient artistic capabilities that contradicted fundamental assumptions about human development. Recent attempts to locate the figurine for modern analysis have been unsuccessful, with institutions claiming no knowledge of its whereabouts, despite documented historical reports of its discovery and initial scientific examination. The artifact represents proof that sophisticated artistic and ceramic capabilities existed 2 million years before accepted human cultural development. Our final impossible artifact brings us to Tanzania, where paleontologist Mary Leakey made a discovery in 1976 that appeared to support human evolution, but contained details that actually challenged everything we thought we understood about prehistoric human capabilities. The preserved footprints at Laetoli seem to show early hominids walking upright 3.6 million years ago. But detailed analysis revealed anomalies that suggested far more advanced capabilities than evolutionary theory could explain. The footprints were preserved in volcanic ash that hardened into rock, creating a permanent record of the walking sequence. Initial analysis focused on the evolutionary significance of early bipedalism, but closer examination revealed features that contradicted accepted developmental timelines and suggested anatomical sophistication that shouldn't have existed for millions of years. The prints showed clear evidence of heel strikes and toe-off patterns indicating modern human walking mechanics rather than the primitive gait expected from early hominids. Most extraordinary was evidence suggesting the walkers were wearing some form of foot protection, with boundary lines and pressure patterns indicating artificial sole materials rather than direct foot contact with volcanic ash. Anatomical analysis revealed arch structures, toe spacing, and pressure distribution patterns matching modern human anatomy rather than the foot structure expected from 3.6 million-year-old hominids. The walkers appeared to possess fully developed human feet, with capabilities that wouldn't supposedly evolve for millions of additional years. When researchers attempted to publish findings about these modern anatomical features, academic institutions dismissed the evidence as misinterpretation of naturalians, despite clear photographic and casting evidence of advancical development that challenged and anatomed every assumption about human evolution. The systematic dismissal intensified when independent analysis confirmed the footprints contained features contradicting accepted evolutionary timelines. Museums displayed the prints as evidence of early bipedalism, while avoiding discussion of their anatomically modern characteristics that suggested far more advanced capabilities than primitive hominids should have possessed. Scientific institutions restricted access to the original footprints and prevented detailed analysis that might confirm their modern anatomical features. Research proposals focusing on the anatomical anomalies were consistently rejected for funding, effectively preventing investigation that might challenge established evolutionary theory. Government archaeological authorities prohibited excavation of additional footprint sites and restricted access to prevent discovery of more evidence that might demonstrate modern human anatomy existed millions of years earlier than accepted timelines acknowledge as possible. The Laetoli footprints represent evidence that anatomically modern humans with advanced capabilities existed 3.6 million years ago, fundamentally challenging assumptions about human evolution and suggesting modern human anatomy and possibly culture have existed far longer than official timelines are willing to admit. These 10 artifacts represent more than archaeological curiosities or scientific anomalies. They constitute physical evidence that human capabilities, technological knowledge, and cultural sophistication have existed throughout history in ways that completely contradict the linear progression of development we've been taught to accept without question. The pattern of discovery, analysis, and subsequent suppression reveals a systematic effort to maintain established timelines regardless of contradictory evidence. Academic institutions, museums, and government agencies have consistently worked to ensure that artifacts challenging accepted historical narratives never reach mainstream recognition or scientific validation. Each discovery follows the same trajectory. Legitimate researchers uncover extraordinary artifacts. Scientific analysis confirms their authenticity and impossible implications. Then systematic dismissal, restricted access, and often complete disappearance from public view eliminates any threat to established historical frameworks that serve institutional interests rather than historical truth. What makes these suppressions particularly disturbing isn't just the individual cases, but the coordinated nature of the cover-up that extends across decades and continents. The evidence suggests our understanding of human history has been deliberately constrained to support specific narratives about technological and cultural development that benefit established institutions rather than reflect actual archaeological evidence. Consider the metallurgical implications alone. We have hammerheads showing impossible iron purity from 400 million years ago, aluminum wedges from 20,000 years before aluminum was supposedly discovered, clay vessels made from unknown alloys 100,000 years before advanced metallurgy existed. Each artifact demonstrates manufacturing capabilities that exceed what we're told was possible, yet they're systematically dismissed or hidden from public awareness. The technological sophistication is equally revolutionary. Ancient batteries generating electrical current 2 millennia before Franklin's experiments. Mechanical computers predicting astronomical events with precision that wouldn't be achieved again for over 1,000 years. Spark plugs embedded in rock formations hundreds of thousands of years old. These aren't primitive attempts at technology. They're fully developed, sophisticated devices that suggest advanced civilizations possessed capabilities we've been taught didn't exist. But perhaps most significant is what these artifacts reveal about the nature of historical suppression itself. The pattern is too consistent to be coincidental, too coordinated to be accidental. Academic institutions refuse to examine evidence. Museums decline to display artifacts. Scientific journals reject research regardless of analytical quality. Government agencies restrict access to discovery sites. And in case after case, the physical evidence itself mysteriously disappears from public view. This isn't scientific skepticism. It's systematic censorship designed to protect established timelines from evidence that would completely overturn our understanding of human development. The institutions we trust to preserve and interpret our past have instead become guardians of carefully constructed narratives that serve their interests rather than historical truth. The implications extend far beyond archaeology or ancient history. If advanced capabilities existed throughout human history, what does that say about the supposed linear progression of civilization? If sophisticated technologies were developed, lost, and redeveloped multiple times, what does that suggest about cycles of human achievement that have been deliberately erased from our understanding? The artifacts we've examined represent only the discoveries that managed to receive some documentation before disappearing into institutional suppression. How many similar finds have been quietly removed from archaeological sites before any analysis could be conducted? How many impossible objects lie in storage facilities, classified beyond public access? How many researchers have been discouraged or prevented from investigating evidence that challenges accepted timelines? The London Hammer's metallurgical impossibility, the Antikythera Mechanism's computational sophistication, the Coso Artifact's anachronistic technology, the Baghdad Batteries' electrical capabilities, the Dorchester Pot's unknown alloy composition, the Klerksdorp Spheres' precision manufacturing, the Aiud Wedge's aluminum construction, the Ica Stones' advanced knowledge depictions, the Nampa Figurine's artistic sophistication, the Laetoli Footprints' modern anatomical features. Each artifact stands as proof that our ancestors possessed capabilities far beyond what we've been taught. Together, they paint a picture of human history that's been systematically rewritten to hide uncomfortable truths about our actual technological and cultural heritage. The evidence suggests that advanced knowledge, sophisticated manufacturing, and modern human capabilities have existed throughout history. But this evidence has been suppressed to maintain narratives that serve institutional control rather than historical accuracy. The financial and political motivations for this suppression become clear when we consider what acknowledgement of these artifacts would mean. If ancient civilizations possessed advanced capabilities, it challenges the assumption that modern institutions represent the pinnacle of human achievement. If sophisticated technologies existed in the past, it suggests that current power structures built on technological control aren't as secure as they appear. The academic establishment has significant investments in maintaining established timelines. Careers, funding, institutional prestige, and educational frameworks all depend on preserving accepted narratives about human development. Acknowledging that these narratives are fundamentally wrong would require admitting decades of institutional failure and academic misdirection. Government agencies have even more complex motivations for suppression. If ancient civilizations possessed advanced capabilities, what technologies might still exist in undiscovered locations? What knowledge could revolutionize current understanding of physics, engineering, or manufacturing? Controlling access to such discoveries ensures that any revolutionary implications remain under institutional authority rather than public awareness. The pattern of artifact suppression reveals that historical truth has become secondary to institutional preservation. Museums that should celebrate human achievement instead hide evidence of extraordinary capabilities. Universities that should pursue knowledge instead suppress research that challenges established frameworks. Government agencies that should serve public interests instead classify discoveries that might empower human understanding. But the evidence can't be completely erased. Despite systematic suppression, documentation exists. Photographs survive. Analysis reports remain. Witness testimonies persist. The artifacts themselves, even when hidden or lost, leave traces that determined researchers can follow. The truth about human capabilities and ancient achievements continues to emerge despite institutional efforts to contain it. What we're witnessing isn't just historical revisionism, it's the active suppression of human heritage and the concealment of our true potential. These artifacts prove that our ancestors were capable of extraordinary achievements that modern education systematically underestimates or ignores entirely. The technologies they developed, the knowledge they possessed, and the capabilities they demonstrated suggest that human potential has been artificially constrained by narratives designed to serve institutional interests rather than acknowledge historical reality. The systematic pattern of discovery, authentication, and subsequent suppression reveals that somewhere in classified storage facilities, private collections, and restricted archives lie the artifacts that could revolutionize our understanding of human history. Technologies that could transform modern capabilities, knowledge that could unlock human potential that's been deliberately hidden for generations. These 10 impossible artifacts represent more than archaeological anomalies. They're evidence of a deliberate campaign to rewrite human history and conceal the true scope of our ancestors' achievements. The linear progression of technological development we've been taught is fundamentally wrong. Advanced capabilities, sophisticated knowledge, and extraordinary achievements have existed throughout human history, but this evidence has been systematically suppressed to maintain institutional control over historical narratives. The implications are staggering. If these artifacts represent genuine ancient achievements, then human civilization has followed cycles of advancement, loss, and rediscovery that official history refuses to acknowledge. Technologies have been developed, perfected, and lost multiple times throughout our past. Knowledge systems have emerged, flourished, and been deliberately erased to serve the interests of institutions that profit from artificial scarcity and technological control. The evidence suggests that human potential has been consistently underestimated and that our ancestors possessed capabilities that modern civilization has yet to fully reclaim or understand. These artifacts stand as testament to achievements that have been stolen from human heritage and hidden in the shadows of institutional suppression, waiting to reclaim their rightful place in our understanding of who we are and what we're truly capable of achieving. The truth that emerges from these impossible discoveries is both extraordinary and disturbing. We've been presented with a carefully constructed version of human history that serves institutional interests rather than reflects archaeological reality. These 10 artifacts represent undeniable proof that advanced technological capabilities, sophisticated manufacturing techniques, and complex scientific knowledge existed throughout our past in ways that completely contradict everything we've been taught about human development. What unites these discoveries isn't just their individual impossibility, but the coordinated pattern of suppression that follows their documentation. The systematic dismissal, restricted access, and mysterious disappearance of evidence reveals an organized effort to maintain historical narratives that benefit established power structures rather than acknowledge the true scope of human achievement. The implications extend far beyond archaeology. If metallurgy advanced enough to create impossible iron alloys existed 400 million years ago, if electrical technology powered ancient civilizations 2,000 years before its supposed invention, if precision manufacturing created perfect spheres 3 billion years ago, then everything we understand about technological development is fundamentally wrong. These artifacts prove that human history follows cycles of achievement and loss that official timelines refuse to acknowledge. Advanced civilizations rose, developed extraordinary capabilities, and left physical evidence of their accomplishments embedded in geological formations that preserve their legacy despite institutional efforts to erase it from public awareness. The financial and political motivations for suppression become clear when we consider what acknowledgement would mean. Educational systems would require complete revision. Academic careers built on established timelines would collapse. Government agencies would lose control over technologies that could revolutionize human capabilities. Museums would need to completely reconstruct their presentations of human development. But the evidence persists. Documentation survives. Analysis reports remain archived. Witness testimonies continue to surface. The physical proof of our ancestors' extraordinary achievements can't be completely eliminated, no matter how systematically institutions attempt to hide it from public recognition. What we're witnessing represents the theft of human heritage on an unprecedented scale. Somewhere in classified storage facilities and private collections lie artifacts that could unlock technologies our ancestors mastered, but we've forgotten. Knowledge systems that could solve problems we consider unsolvable. Manufacturing techniques that could revolutionize modern industrial capabilities. These discoveries force us to confront uncomfortable questions about institutional control over historical truth. How many revolutionary technologies remain hidden in restricted archives? How many ancient achievements have been deliberately erased to maintain artificial limitations on human potential? How many discoveries could transform our understanding of what's possible if they weren't systematically suppressed? The 10 artifacts we've examined represent only the evidence that managed to receive documentation before disappearing into institutional suppression. They stand as testament to capabilities that have been stolen from human consciousness and hidden in the shadows of academic and government control. The linear progression of civilization we've accepted is a manufactured illusion designed to conceal the true scope of human achievement throughout history. Our ancestors weren't primitive cave dwellers slowly discovering basic technologies over millennia. They were sophisticated civilizations that developed advanced capabilities, created extraordinary artifacts, and left physical evidence of achievements that modern science struggles to understand or replicate. The evidence embedded in ancient rock formations proves that human potential has been consistently underestimated, and that our true heritage includes technological mastery that has been deliberately erased from historical awareness. The systematic pattern of artifact suppression reveals that historical truth has become secondary to maintaining institutional authority over human understanding. But these impossible discoveries continue to emerge, challenging established narratives and forcing recognition that our past contains achievements far more extraordinary than we've been allowed to acknowledge. Human history isn't the story of gradual progress from primitive beginnings. It's a cycle of advancement, achievement, loss, and rediscovery that institutions have worked tirelessly to conceal. These artifacts represent proof that extraordinary capabilities have existed throughout our heritage, waiting to reclaim their rightful place in our understanding of human potential and the true scope of what our species has accomplished across the vast expanse of time.